I am Mike Gerhardt, and I'm a constitutional law professor at the University of North Carolina. I grew up in the 1960s, and I grew up as a Jew in southern Alabama in the 1960s. And I'm still Jewish, but I no longer live in southern Alabama. But you can't grow up at a time like that, in an area like that, without an awareness of what was happening in front of you. I mean, I literally grew up with the civil rights movement unfolding in front of me. But I also grew up in a place and part of the country where political leaders didn't always want to do what I'd call the right thing. And so law ended up making a huge difference.
My name is Nariessa Smith, and I am a lawyer, and I have been a law professor for over 10 years, and during that time I specialized in constitutional law. Even though I've told all my friends in high school that I was going to be a doctor, I did Model UN, I did mock trial, moot court, all of the things that somebody who would really want to go to law school would do. And my friends would all say, "Why are you going to medical school again?"
The Constitution, while it may be an artifact of the past, it's implemented in the present. And we have to live our lives in relationship to the Constitution. So we want to understand that relationship as well as we can.
One of the things our Constitution does is it creates three branches of government. We have the legislature that creates the laws, that's Congress. We have the executive, whose job is to enforce the law, that's the president. And then we have the judiciary. They are, and they know that they are, the weakest branch in terms of the powers that they have. They don't have the power to declare war that Congress does. They don't have an army at their command like the president does. But the biggest job and the most important job that they have is to be able to say, if the president takes an action, no, that violates the Constitution. Or if Congress passes a law, no, that violates our Constitution. So the Supreme Court is really there as a check to make sure that the other branches of government do only the things that they are supposed to do according to our Constitution.
There's one top or supreme authority, and that is the United States Supreme Court, which is in Washington, D.C. There are 9 justices in the U.S. Supreme Court, and their job is to decide cases that involve questions of constitutional law. Those cases must be coming to the Supreme Court in order for it to decide those cases. But once the Supreme Court does get a case that involves a question about the Constitution or constitutional meaning, then typically what the Supreme Court has to say about that becomes oftentimes the final word or a critical word or important pronouncement, which it's very difficult to undo.
For instance, the Supreme Court will hear about clean air regulations that regulate how much pollutants can be in the air or how much, of a certain chemical can be in a workplace. Or little things that don't seem like they have much of an impact because they don't make a lot of noise, but they impact the lives of everyday Americans.
So no matter what you end up doing, you will deal with the Constitution in some respects. Even if you become a scientist, the extent to which science itself is supported or not supported by government, the extent to which it's regulated or to some extent limited by government, the extent to which government can shape what scientists say and the kind of research that may get done may itself be shaped by government to some extent. So you always want to be aware of the extent to which government has power to do something or not to do something.
The Constitution is definitely not just some dusty old yellow document that you go look at in the archives in Washington, D.C. It's a living, breathing document. It's living and breathing because every day there are actors that have to do what the Supreme Court says based on constitutional law, all the way from the president on down to a traffic police officer. So there are people who have to comply with the Constitution every day. But another reason is because every year, especially around this time of year, the Supreme Court is issuing major decisions, and every time that happens, they're changing what the Constitution means for the next generation.